just over a year. "We missed him so much," Pamela had told Laura, the thread of tears thickening her voice. "Having his children close by would be such a comfort." No mention of what a comfort it would be to have their daughter-in-law close by as well, but Laura chose not to mind. Her in-laws were grieving. Tim had been their only child, and in any case, her relationship with them had always been slightly prickly. When Laura had suggested the move to Maggie and Sam, they'd looked surprised and then thoughtful. A new start might have been what they all needed, and her children were aware enough to know it. "We could see Granny and Grandad more," Sam had asked eagerly, because her in-laws tended to spoil them with presents, sweets, and unlimited screen time. The other grandparent option was slightly less appealing. Laura's father lived in a semi-squalid caravan in Cornwall and was an indifferent host at best, and her mother had died before they'd been born when Laura was only in her 20s. She still missed her, missed having her wisdom as well as her humor. Her dad, unfortunately, offered little of either. "Yes, loads more," she'd told Sam firmly. "And we'd start new schools." "Of course we'd start new schools, doofus," Maggie had interjected scornfully. "We'd be moving hundreds of miles away." "That's the tricky part," Laura had explained with a sympathetic look for both of them. "Leaving everything and everyone we know here to start over. How would you feel about that?" Sam had just shrugged, surprisingly nonplussed. He was leaving primary at the end of the year and would have been starting a new school anyway. And, Laura knew, he didn't have too many friends, preferring his own company and the world he constructed on a screen than the potential bullies who teased him because he was a little different, a little shy. Leaving Woodbridge would, she'd acknowledge sadly, be no hardship for her quirky son. "What about you, Maggie?" Laura had asked. She knew her daughter had several close friends at school, but she also knew since Tim's death, Maggie had contemptuously declared them all fakes. No one, it seemed, had been there when she'd truly needed them. Laura could hardly blame a bunch of 14-year-old girls for not knowing how to deal with death, but it still hurt her daughter. A lot. Although, she suspected, whatever her friends' reactions, Maggie would have been angry anyway. Her daughter had been in a near-constant state of fury since the police had rung her mobile just a week before Christmas and informed them that there had been an accident. Words to freeze the blood in her veins, for her heart to still, and yet it hadn't. It had kept beating on, relentlessly, long after Tim's had been stopped by a skid into a tree on the side of the road. When Laura had asked her daughter her opinion about moving, Maggie had at least not been angry. She'd merely shrugged, chewing her thumbnail. "Maybe. I don't know. You can think about it, of course. It's not a decision any of us should take lightly." Maggie had nodded, and then, to Laura's surprise, there had been a soft knock on her bedroom door 2 nights later. She'd startled awake, as she often did since Tim's death, her heart thudding in her chest, her body twanging into tense alert, sure something was wrong. It was just a question of what. "Mum? Maggie? Is everything okay?" She glanced at the clock on the bedside table. It read 2 o'clock in the morning. Her heart rate ratcheted higher, panic her default setting since her husband's death. "I want to move." "Oh." Laura had eased back against the pillows, filled with relief that nothing was wrong, or at least more wrong than it already was. "Okay, sweetheart. I'm glad you've made a decision. We can talk about it more in the morning." And when they had done so, Maggie hadn't changed her mind, but apparently she had now. Laura moved to the kitchen where boxes were piled on the worktop. She'd had the foresight to pack one with the essentials, kettle, tea bags, and a carton of UHT milk. Unfortunately, she'd forgotten to mark what box it was on the outside. It had been typical of her, in the last year, to make such a hash of things. Her brain still felt as if it were fuzzy, as if everything was happening in slow motion, but she was the one who needed to catch up. Her best friend, Chantal, who lived in London, had told her that was normal. "Grief messes with you," she told Laura seriously. "You have to give yourself a lot of time." Except how did one do that exactly, especially with 2 grieving children to shepherd?